Hello friends, welcome to the finale of my Patriotic Tumbler series for 2024. In this video, we're going to do a Patriotic glitter swirl tumbler. So I'm starting out by spray painting my cup. I'm going to do a red, white, and blue swirl here. So you'll see me go back and forth in a kind of like swirly diagonal painting motion with my red, white, and blue paint. Now there's no real rule to doing this. You just want to make sure that you have nice solid sections of each color. Now I chose to have my red be a large section, my white be a large section, and then just do a little bit of blue in between those. So my blue is my smallest glitter section, but we're going to bring more of that blue in later with some other design elements. So if you want to do it a different way, you absolutely can. Once my paint is dry, I'm going to start applying my glitter. Now I hit record a little bit too late on my phone, so I've already got my white down, but I'm using the epoxy method here to apply my glitter, and I'm going to do a glitter swirl. So the white that I used is chunky Parabatai. All of the glitters I'm using, as always, are from Peachy Olive Glitter, so I'll have all of the names and everything listed down below for you, along with a discount code if you'd like to use the same colors I'm using. And for my first round of glitter, as I always do, I'm going really light with my chunkier cuts because we're going to add in some finer cuts later to really help blend everything together and increase our coverage and all of that. So with these chunkier cuts, I'm really just kind of trying to establish where all of these colors are going to go and get a really nice base for all of those finer cuts to really do most of the work. So now that all of our chunky cuts are down, we can move into the smaller cuts. So starting with Frosty, I'm going to go over our white section with this color. Now Frosty is not a fine cut. It's a little bit of like a more mini chunky mix, I would say, but it does have a lot of fine cut pieces in it, which is really going to help with our full coverage, making sure we've got every little spot on this tumbler covered in glitter. Next, for the blue section, we're going to take Liberty and we're going to do the same thing. So as you can see, now that I'm getting into these smaller cuts of glitter, they're not super chunky, I'm going a little bit more heavy-handed in my coverage. And I'm sorry about this camera angle. I should have filmed this from the front. I don't know why I didn't. So I'm sorry if the camera goes in and out of focus and it's hard to see what I'm doing. But basically what we're doing here is a glitter ombre, but on a diagonal. So we are trying to somewhat blend our colors with each other. Now it's not going to be perfect because doing a diagonal blend this way is really difficult. So just do the best you can. If you cannot get a perfect fade and ombre look, that's totally okay. We're going to add a lot of elements to this tumbler that are going to help you cover up any imperfections that you might have. So don't stress out or work too hard on getting a super perfect blend. It's totally okay if you just get the colors on the cup and they're in somewhat of a diagonal pattern. Now moving into those fine and extra fine cuts, we're really going to make sure we've got full coverage here with these fine cuts and just improve our blending a little bit. So starting off with the white, I'm using Chantilly and I'm going to put that all over the white and then also just let it fall into the other colors because that's just going to help the blend look even better. Then for the navy blue, I'm going to take Pivot, and this is a super extra fine cut, so I'm going to try and be really careful when I place this in those blue sections. I don't want too many of those super tiny pieces to move too far out of their like blue zone. And again, doing the same thing with the red here. This is Maraschino, also a super extra fine cut. So I really just want to, of course, fade that into the other colors, but not so much that it like takes over or looks weird. I let this epoxy glitter layer dry for about 4 hours, and then I did seal the glitter just with my clear gloss spray from Rust-Oleum. And now I'm going to add 3 coats of epoxy to my tumbler. We've got a lot of glitter and a lot of chunky glitters on here, so I want to make sure that my cup is as smooth as can be before we move on to all of our vinyl work. So I did 3 coats of about maybe 25 milliliters a piece, and of course I used the Flynn Sisters Supply Shop Fast Cure epoxy. So after that 3rd coat is cured, I'm going to do a little bit of sanding, again just to make sure the cup is as smooth as can be before we add our vinyl work. The vinyl we're going to use is a matte metallic chromey type vinyl from Tech Wrap Craft, and I'll tell you, it will show every little bump that you have on your tumbler. So if you're going to use a vinyl like this that's a little bit less forgiving, really go the extra mile, do the extra coat of epoxy, do the sanding, and make sure that your cup is as smooth as possible before you add this vinyl. So over this white swirl area, we're going to put our blue leopard spots and stars. Now, of course, if you don't like leopard print, you can do any sort of pattern that you want here. If you want to do all different kinds of stars, that would be really pretty, or really whatever kind of pattern you want. One of my Elite Fam members asked me to make kind of a gypsy leopard style tumbler on YouTube, so I'm doing the leopard spots and kind of just doing my own swirl rather than a traditional gypsy leopard, but that's why I chose to do leopard spots, and I really love how it turned out. So this file I will link for you down below in the description box, and I just cut out each spot like around an inch in size, maybe a little smaller than an inch. I wanted to be able to fit a lot of these spots on my tumbler and not have them be super large, so I sized them a little bit smaller than I probably typically would. So I'm going to start out with the leopard spots, and you can see I'm just placing like small groups of them around the swirl of the tumbler, and then I'm going to go in with those super small stars that I cut out of this same blue vinyl, and I'm just going to put them kind of in between the spots wherever they'll fit to bring a little bit more patriotism, I guess, to this portion of the tumbler. Alright, so here's what that side of the tumbler looks like now. I really love the leopard and the stars together. And now on the other side, we can do our big main decal. So the decal that we're going to use says Fireworks and Freedom. This is one that I created, so I will have it linked for you down below if you want to purchase it on my website. And now I'm going to do an offset and then the top layer decal, of course. The offset is cut out of just regular plain white vinyl, and then the top layer is that same matte metallic blue vinyl that we use for the leopard spots on the other side. Now, applying this decal is going to be a little bit difficult because we're not only applying it around a large diagonal section, that diagonal section has a big ol' curve in it. This is exactly where the cup tapers, so we're gonna have to be really careful and smart with how we apply our decal. So when I applied my transfer tape to that white offset, I cut as closely around the decal as I could, just so I have less backing and stuff to work with or deal with as I do this. And what I'm going to do is tape off the top section to secure the top of the decal to the cup, and then I'm going to kind of finagle around and cut the decal into smaller pieces so that we can get some leeway as we wrap it around that curve. So I'm going to cut around the word freedom, and then I'm going to tape that down as well. Now the reason I didn't cut this apart in the very beginning is because I want the decal obviously to be oriented the way that I designed it to be oriented. So I ended up taping everything into place and then actually cutting the decal apart once I knew everything would stay oriented the way I wanted it to. Hopefully that makes sense. But once I've got that done, I'm going to start with the top piece, and I'm going to lift that up and remove the backing from the decal, and then very slowly and carefully press the decal onto the tumbler, making sure that I don't have any wrinkles or anything as I push the vinyl down. Of course, I want everything to lie down really nice and smoothly. And once I've done that with that side, I'm going to repeat that exact same process with the bottom piece. Remember, just going section by section, really going slowly. And if I need to, I'll cut into my transfer tape or kind of finagle things any way that I can to make sure we don't get any wrinkles or ruin our letters in any other way. Okay, so the offset is the hardest part. Now getting this top layer of the decal on should be a whole lot easier because we have our outline in place. So what I'm going to do is cut my decal into as small of pieces as I possibly can, and then I'll just line those up with the offset and place them down piece by piece. Now, of course, you still want to be careful during this process, but this step will be a whole lot easier than laying the offset down. Now that we've got the wording portion of our decal down, we can add our stars. So just the same as the decal, I've got a thin white offset, and then I've got the blue to layer on top. And now these are just going to fill in the remainder of the space, bring in a little bit of the vibe from the other side of the tumbler into this side as well with the same stars. So I'm just going to add those the same way we did with the letter decal, and then we can move into our next coat of epoxy and adding all of our mica swirls. We're going to be using the Flynn Sisters Supply Shop Artist Cure Epoxy for this process. I always recommend using a regular setting epoxy rather than a fast set when you're doing any type of swirl or anything like this, because your epoxy will not cure too quickly and you'll have the full amount of working time to get everything looking the way that you really want it to look. Now for our micas, I'm going to use a few different kinds here. I've got a lot of liquid micas from the Crystalac company, and then I've got some other colored mica powders, all from Simply Sarah's Custom Creations. So I will have all of the names and everything listed and linked down below in the description box if you want to know exactly what I'm using. But basically what I've got is a gold, a red, a dark blue, and then a kind of silvery white. So I'm going to take each of those colors and put them into their own medicine cup. And then I'm going to add a little tiny bit of epoxy to each of those cups. Now, for me, it's always hard to do a super small amount of epoxy. So I'm going to do probably about 5 milliliters per medicine cup, but you definitely are not going to use that much on your tumbler. That's just the smallest amount that I find is enough or like realistic for me to pour into a medicine cup. So I'm going to mix all of those up really, really well. And then I'm going to just take my plain epoxy and I'm going to put that on my tumbler first. Doing that, of course, is going to give us a nice coat on our cup. It's going to seal in those vinyl decals that we just put on, and it's going to allow all of the micas that we put on the tumbler to flow and swirl nice and freely. They'll kind of move within that clear epoxy, if that makes sense. So you want to put that onto your cup first before you do your mica swirls. This does not have to be a super thick coat. I think maybe for this 32-ounce tumbler, I used 20 milliliters of epoxy. So you don't have to like glob it on or anything. You just want to get a nice, thin, solid coat on there, and you should be just fine for adding all of your swirls. Starting with my first color, I'm going to use my super dark blue color. I typically like to work from darkest color to lightest color. It probably doesn't matter at all though, that's just my personal preference for doing it. So what I'm going to do is take my coffee stick. I need some coffee. Take my popsicle stick and I'm just going to draw on some diagonal lines where I want the swirls to be, and I'm going to do that with each color. And then I'm going to take my finger with my glove on and blend all of those colors together and kind of diffuse them a little bit and break them apart. I didn't use my heat gun on this particular design, but typically I would take my heat gun and use that to disperse the color a little bit. The reason I didn't use my heat gun on this design is because I really didn't want that color to move into either of our vinyl decal sections. I really wanted the color to stay as concentrated as I could within those like blue separator stripe sections. So I'm going to put all of the colors on again, and then with my glove just kind of break them apart and make them look not so stripy, and then I'm just going to let the cup spin to do the rest of the work. Once all my swirls are dispersed, I'm going to take some bits of glitter. Now this is just contaminated glitter that I saved from when we glittered the tumbler. So this is all the colors that we used on the cup mixed together. And I'm just going to take that in my fingers and sprinkle it exactly where we put the micas. I find that this gives a whole lot of extra dimension to your design. I love putting glitter over mica that's over glitter. I feel like it just looks so cool. So I'm going to sprinkle that in those two areas, and then I'm going to let my cup spin and cure overnight. And then it will be time to finish off our booty of our tumbler. We're going to do a really simple glitter booty here. I'm going to use my CCDIY UV resin along with Mr. President glitter from Peachy Olive Glitters. And I'm going to mix in the glitter with the UV resin. And then I'm just going to pour that mixture into the bottom little well of our tumbler, cure it underneath my UV lamp for a few minutes, and then I'll add my final 2 coats of epoxy. So in that first final coat, I added a little bit of special edition flurries to my epoxy and applied that all over the whole cup just to give it an overall little extra touch of sparkle. And then the final coat was just plain old regular epoxy. For those final coats, I used the Flynn Sisters Supply Shop Artist Cure epoxy, and that was it. So here is the final tumbler design. I really, really love how this turned out. This was so much fun to make and put together and design, and I just love using as many glitters as possible on a tumbler. So I really love doing this, and I hope you guys enjoyed the finale to my Patriotic series. I really love doing this series, and I hope you all enjoyed all the videos. Thank you so much for your support as always. You all watching my videos week after week has seriously changed my life. You have no idea. So thank you from the bottom of my heart for that. And thanks for watching. I will see you guys very soon for my next video. Be sure to subscribe if you're not already. Give the video a thumbs up down below, and I'll see you in the next one. Okay, love you. Bye. Hello friends, thanks so much for watching this video. I want to say a huge special thank you to my elite fam, my channel members, and my subscribers. You all make this channel possible, so thank you so much for being part of the fam. If you want more exclusive content from me, you can join my elite fam at patreon.com/elitefam. You can find my tumblers and digital files on my website madebymalstudio.com. And if you'd like to follow me on social media, you can find me on Instagram at madebymal_studio. Here's another video for you to check out, and I'll see you soon. Thanks so much for watching. Love you. Bye.